8. Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. We are Province 5 and 4 Creation Care Network. Today is December 9th, 2024. I am Jeanette Etten. I am the convener for Province 5 Creation Care Network. Today we have Martha Meyer, who is the founder of the annual Blueberry Award. She will be showcasing the year's best climate and nature books for kids 3 to 10. She is the former Green Team leader at St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Evanston, and she is also she represents, St. Luke's at the city's Interfaith Action Subcommittee on Climate and Climate Justice. She has also a certificate in Contemplation and Creation Care, Deep Green Faith. And she studied under our own Jerry Capel. There you go. And and she is both a healing minister and a Eucharistic assistant at St. Luke's and works on the formation committee. She helps to create eco-friendly programming. We are so fortunate to have her with us today. Jerry is going to pray us in, and then we are going to let Martha take off. Same format that we've done in the past. She's going to give a presentation and everyone can ask questions. So write them down, put them in the chat, or we can talk to her directly afterwards. In the meantime, everybody introduce yourself in the chat. Tell us your name and where you're from. And Jerry, let's pray.
Yeah, everybody, let's bring ourselves into the space or allow ourselves to be brought by the Holy Spirit into this space, setting aside all the business and chatter in our heads in the moments we have that have brought us here. So, the Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us seek the grace of God. Bountiful God, you call us to labor with you in tending the earth where we lack love. Open our hearts to the world. Where we waste, give us discipline to conserve. Where we neglect, awaken our minds and wills to insight and care. And we pray especially now for folks in Lahaina, Hawaii, who are still struggling mightily against greed, injustice, avoidance, neglect, and the fire that has devastated so much there. For others caught up in other forms of greed, of devastation, of consequences not their own. We pray grace upon them, your mercy upon them. May we all do what is ours to do, where we are and in the moment we have. May we, with all your creatures, honor and serve you in all things, for you live and reign with Christ, Redeemer of all, and with your Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry. That was beautiful.
Jerry, did you have announcements?
I could. Why don't we run those, since we're recording and this is a tape. I'll try to see if I can reserve a minute in the end for that.
Yeah,
That might work better.
I have one as well. So if we can do that at the end. So Martha, you are on.
Great. Let me start sharing my screen, which now needs to be changed. Oh, here we go. And then slideshow. There we go. All right. Let me get to the front. All right. I am a graduate of Deep Green Faith, and at the same time, I was also pursuing a personal legacy project. And that is that I felt that the American Library Association had not created a necessary award for the best nature and climate book, because I think it should have been founded in 1973 when we, had the chance to change how we think about the world around us. But the pandemic gave us courage to go ahead and be cheeky and found a literary award out of one library. So, and I'm in Evanston, Illinois, and I'm taking advantage of Evanston's resources here to help me with this award. But the idea is to help parents, teachers, and also creation care teams and children's formation teams to have the resources available to inspire a love of nature in children and action for the planet. And we're focusing mostly on children ages 3 to 10, though we do have a board book list, and we do have a list for adults and a list for educators, but that's what we're mostly focusing on. So it's called the Blueberry Award. It comes out every year in March of the year. So March of 2025 will be our 2024 announcement. So we don't have all the 2024 books yet for you because we're scrambling, trying to do the last reading weekend to get ready. But let's talk, and I'm pulling this from Deep Green Faith, of course. What do we hope to share with kids about the earth from the place of our understanding of God? And number one is we are nature, not a separate part of it. And that should be actually, yeah. That's misspelled. Anyway, nature is our kin, not our resource. We are still praying in our church occasionally for nature as our resource. And we hope that we raise up children that understand better that nature is our kin, our brothers and sisters created by God, not a resource for us to utilize and manipulate. The book of nature is equal to the book of scripture. Through viewing, understanding, touching, being part of nature, we learn as much about God as we do from the book of scripture. And nature can be a great source of God's peace, healing, and restoration. So how can the Blueberry Award help share these really important elements that we want to share with our children? There are 35 books in the Blueberry Award. We have everything from nonfiction, fiction, graphics, poetry. There's about 35 books total. 1 winner, 24 honor books, 10 changemaker books, and all the information about the award is at this one website, www.epl.org/blueberry. We've got the lists we've been creating, the flyers of the lists, even spine labels for your book if you have an interest. We have 2 sets of criteria. We have a number of people in the library that have been on the national ALA awards, like the Legacy Award, the Caldecott Award, the Newbery Award. And in fact, the Newbery Award is the reason why we call it the Blueberry Award.
Okay. Okay.
So obviously we want excellence in children's literature, in the writing, in the art, in the photography, in how they work together. But we also are looking for books specifically that share nature intersections, and sometimes climate peril with kids in developmentally appropriate but truthful ways. Obviously, we would like to have all the books reflect the diversity of the people in our world, their gifts, abilities, and differences, as well as in the scientists that are previewed in some of these books. We have to make sure that the book is grounded in real science. We have a biologist, a zoologist on the committee this year. Other years we've had marine science people and neurobiologists. And we want the books to incite kids to action that makes a real difference. If they're going to incite kids to action, that it should be something that makes a real difference. The city of Evanston also has a climate action and resilience plan. And so books that support elements of that are always welcome. But we have another set of criteria that I think are more important for us to talk about here today. And that is that it is really easy to get this wrong. This is one reason why I think it is important to have this award. It is really simple to write a climate book that hurts children more than it helps them. And very many, like really well-known authors are not necessarily aware of the psychology behind climate anxiety and how to mitigate it or reverse it. The most important thing to understand is that anxiety is the enemy of collective action. I'm sure that has made sense you in all kinds of ways. So many people have told me, oh, I can't go to that program because it's a downer and I'm trying to watch my mental health. But collective action is the enemy of anxiety. So if you can move forward in a collective way, then anxiety falls away. It doesn't solve, but it is not primary. So our anti-anxiety criteria for the Blueberry, and so then this is criteria I hope we would use in terms of sharing books with kids and also, in fact, with adults. Love of nature first and climate action second, because you only save what you love. You recommend group or team action, not going it alone. There must be, if there's going to be practical suggestions, they must mitigate the actual problem that is being shared in the book. And it needs to be stated or implied that adults are already engaged. We never, ever should say to children, it's all up to you and your generation to solve this problem. And you would be surprised at how many authors put that in their notes. We have to cut all those books. And then the very important, follow child development guidelines about what kind of information kids can handle at which age. Significant global understanding of climate change information should not be shared with kids under 8 years of age. And a lot of this information comes from the professor emeritus of at University of Colorado Boulder. Her name is Louise Chawla. She's the scientific advisor for the Children in Nature Network. And she also did a presentation at Brookfield Zoo via Zoom in 2023, which I attended and learned a lot, though I've read some of her writings now. So let me give you just an example here. This is the 2023 Blueberry winner. It is called How to Bird. It is a brilliant, gentle, warm pep talk for kids of all ages and abilities to begin birding. The photos are by the author, who's a working teacher in New York City, and they are pictures of kids that she teaches. And wonderfully in this book, people with different abilities and ways of relating to the world, those things are regarded as birding superpowers. The whole book is an invitation to adore God's creatures. So the value that's being shared here is nature is kin, and watching God's birds and sing and fly brings joy and community. And what others may define as a challenge may be a superpower while birding. This is a great book for opening a session of nature contemplation for kids or adults. And it's great for reading before any walk outside with young children. So how can the Blueberry Award help youth formation? I have some examples from Evanston, Illinois. I'm sure you could think of other ones, but this is just things that have actually taken place. We did a summer creation care story time and STEM event once a month in the summer, this past summer at St. Luke's. And the books were around a theme like water or planting. And then we came up with what's the word STEM mean? I probably should tell you. That's science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So we came up with a little project for kids, like they were doing some planting, or they were testing what floated and what didn't float on water. This was a way to engage kids in God's creation directly in a hands-on way. So we did this for a summer creation care event for parents and parents, families, and kids. And then we also have like a gathering time before our children's formation Sunday school proper offerings. And during that gathering time, we have used Blueberry books to begin the conversation. Sometimes we read a book about a butterfly, or sometimes we read a book about a praying mantis. A bookshelf for, and then we wonder about it. A bookshelf for kids to browse during the church service. Okay, so St. Mark's Episcopal has a whole bookshelf in the sanctuary for kids to pull books to look at while they're in the service if they're prone to being frustrated, and they're also allowed to borrow them. And so they make sure that all those books are books that have been recommended by the Blueberry. And so they're all about God's creation and creation care. First United Methodist Church of Evanston did a vacation Bible school around creatures of God and used Blueberry books to assist in that. They had a story time here at the library. We also at St. Luke's have an intergenerational book club for kids, parents, and grandparents. And recently we read Otter by Catherine Applegate. This is a book in verse, so it's very quick and easy to read for adults and kids. And yet it brings up a lot of issues about animals and how to help them. Another thing I would love to do, which I have not done, is a presentation for kids, for adults, parents, about how to talk about climate change with kids. That's in the proposal stages. So here's another book that you might want to know about. It's called All of Me is Nature: Exploring the Five Senses Outside. This is for very young children. You see it goes down to 2.5. And it essentially goes through what nature contemplation is, except it's told in a somewhat more secular way, though the woman who wrote it out of a heart for creation care. It really explains that wonderful practice that some of us have heard of as Shirin Roku, or forest bathing, or nature contemplation, and it's for really young children. So it's a great introduction, but it could be used for slightly older. This is Ashley Jefferson, the author, writing about how it came out of her love of nature and her love of play. And then here's another book. This is for ages 8 through 12, a very different age range. It's called Drawn to Change the World: 16 Youth Climate Activists and 16 Artists. And it's the origin stories for superheroes, except the superheroes are folk that are across the world, of every race and continent, working on climate action. So oh, sorry about that. You can see it's got the classic comics look, and it shares the value. We are nature, we are not separate from it. And it asks the question, how might you be drawn by the book of nature and God's spirit to change the world? It's a great book for intergenerational book clubs, or just kids in the 3rd to 7th grade range. Pretty easy to read in 1 or 2 sittings, very short. That's what's so great about graphics. Then here's the other winner of the 2023 Blueberry Award. It's a bilingual book, and don't be afraid of that word Menomen in the title, The Gift of Menomen. It simply means wild rice. And the reason, and wild rice is actually a very bad translation, because the rice is somewhat, in addition to naturally occurring, it is also sown by native peoples, and it is not in any way related to what we know of as rice. So Menomen is a better word for it, and that's why they don't translate it as wild rice. This is written by a professor at University of Guelph in Canada, but she's Anishinaabe, as is the illustrator. And what's so cool about this is it explains how nature is kin. Menomen is supported in its growth by humans, by moose who break up the overgrown stands of rice, a large fish who die, and then the nutrients support the soil, and eagles who eat muskrats who are eating the tender young shoots. But Menomen then in turn feeds humans, and it is a perfect food for migratory waterfowl because it matures just before their flight south, and it contains lots of protein. Then of course it does support the wild muskrat. It also creates important habitat for native fishes, young waterfowl, supports insects that support bats and birds, and the juvenile fish and waterfowl and insects that feed large birds. So it's really a keystone species. It means spirit berry, a gorgeous thing to share with children. Another book that you may want to share with your older kids, that's like 1st through 5th, maybe. 1st through 4th is called Stand as Tall as the Trees: How an Amazonian Community Protected the Rainforest. It's written by the indigenous Ecuadorian activist, as well as an American who's bilingual. And I found this to be I'm sorry about how touchy this is. I found this to be a really compelling image. The Quechua, led by Patricia Gualinga, successfully sued the country of Ecuador, took them to court for stealing their forest land for oil drilling. And the book describes the indigenous spirits of the forest, the Amazanga, who mourn the loss of the trees and the animals. And, we believe it is God who mourns each nature loss, but not a single sparrow can fall to the ground without him knowing, because he loves all his creatures, and we are his children, and we are all each other's kin. A lovely book, despite its indigenous beliefs. I think a lovely, lovely book to share in let's see, if we got so many wonderful books to share, but let's jump on here. Here's a beautiful book called Cicada Symphony. This is something that you will probably, at least in Province 5, remember all this, the double emergence we had this summer. This book was published in advance of that. We gave it the award in advance of that. And it explains cicadas to children. There are more than 3,800 species of cicadas. And it talks all about the life cycle, and it gets kids ready for the double brood emergence, if, for those gorgeous pictures of cicadas. The book of nature is equal to the book of scripture. What is God telling us about God's self in the cicada? So cicadas speak loudly to us about God's infinite abundance, about God's crazy love for variety and difference, and about God's trickster way of doing things. Those 13 and 17-year emergences, they are designed to overwhelm the predators and provide way more quantity than any predator that can eat, and so then some of them will live. It's just like it's like a mast year for acorns. So that's a lovely message to share with children about something that was, a part of their world. And finally, A Little Dose of Nature: Outdoor Fun to Help Happiness Bloom. This is an amazing book because it puts in the hands of children in the elementary school range exactly how scientifically God's nature helps us to regulate our emotions and to gain some calm, relaxation, and happiness. In fact, sorry about this again. I'm having a little trouble moving this. Okay. So as Deep Green Faith shared with me, and of course, all of us know intuitively, our well-being and our ability to de-stress is supported by nature, fresh air, and the world's creatures. But exactly how does that happen? So this book introduces kids to nature's 5 key ingredients, which can provide both cognitive and emotional benefits. And they also provide 25 beautiful activities. One of them is making a nature mandala. It's certainly something that I did on my nature contemplation time, and would be a great Sunday school activity, and also an activity for adults. So nature can be a source of God's peace, healing, and renewal. The kids are not all right. The creation team care is exhausted. The parents are totally stressed out by balancing. And you can learn from science what it is about God's creation that renews us. And they list a number of things: fractals, nature sounds, phytoncides, soil bacteria, and sunlight. My favorite is the soil bacteria. There's a little soil bacteria called M. vaccae. And if you disturb the soil, i.e. if you are gardening, those wonderful microbes will fly into the air. You breathe them in, and they begin to make you feel better. It's amazing. This would be a great family program, a great parent program, a great all-parish program, in addition to supporting K-5 kids in their emotional development. We also have a list called the Baby Blueberry of great nature board books every year. This is one of them. This is a beautiful, the board book is used to good purpose because all the prints are recessed, so you can put your fingers in all of them, and you can learn about making prints in the snow. And of course, we all make footprints in the snow, so we are all nature. So there's also an adult reading list created by the Blueberry. This was last year's list, and we did use, in our church, we did use Lauren Groff's The Vaster Wilds as a discussion book in our women's book group. But there's a number of other books in our list. A few of them are here. And then, of course, we've got some for this year that might be interesting. Of course, many of you, I'm sure, have already read the tiny book, The Serviceberry, that just came out, Robin Wall Kimmerer's new book. So fantastic. It's all about reimagining the economy based on the model of nature. But there's lots of other cool recommendations that will be coming out in the 2024 adult reading list. But what can the Blueberry be used for? Inspiring creation care story times, opening up a STEM activity when you're collaborating with God, planting or looking for bugs, or taking a nature walk, or starting a compost pile, or designing with natural elements like seeds and sticks and rocks. It's a great thing that you can share with parents in your church to guide them to the best books so that children will love the earth. If you're doing Earth Day programming, it's a great handout. It can suggest story times. It's a great thing to share with partners. You can also, this is really simple. You take yard signs, you can buy them at almost anywhere. And then you attach laminated copies of the book. You need to buy 2 copies of the book in order to create a book walk. But then you put it outside, and then people walk along and learn about nature while they're experiencing nature. Obviously, we've talked about graphic novel book clubs for kids or intergenerational experience. One of the great things about the Blueberry is we worked very hard to make sure that the diversity of God's people are reflected in the books. You can use the adult list for adult book clubs or study series. And of course, you can share the educator resources with your formation team. So how do you get all this good stuff? So this comes from Evanston Public Library, and at least right now, that's where the Blueberry Award takes place. So you go to Evanston Public Library, www.epl.org/blueberry, and all the lists will be there. What you won't see is anything from 2024 yet. Our announcement in 2024 is March 20th, 2025. And so every March you can look for this list so that you have about a month to buy the books before Earth Day if you want to use them in that capacity. So thank you so much for listening, and I'm open to questions right now. I went through a lot of things quickly. I'm happy to go back and answer anything that you might have a question about.
Can we stop our sharing, the screen share?
Yes, of course I can do that.
Thank you.
See, let's.
And that way I can see hands
Yes,
of
now you
people
can
who
see
have
hands.
questions. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can raise your hand, or you can write in chat, or you can raise your hand by the hand raising tool, which is under something. What is that anymore? It's new. React. Isn't it under React?
Yeah, there's a little heart there.
Yeah, that little heart. I'll start with a couple here, actually. So this has been going on since 2021. Is that
Yes.
correct? So that's 1, 2, 3 years worth.
Yeah.
So what's that story a little bit? So how did the committee get put together? How did they choose who they chose? How much buzz did it get before they did the 22 and then the 23? What?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we read in 2021, and our first announcement was in 2022 about the 2021 books. How did it come together? Well, the Evanston Public Library is really lucky. We have 3 people here at the library who have been on the National American Library Association awards committees. So they have been involved in a Caldecott Award or a Newbery Award, or there's one of us that chaired the Legacy Committee, which used to be called the Laura Ingalls Wilder Award. And there's someone now, this year is 2025, they're going to be on the Cybert Award, which is the best informational books. So we have these people who have determined for the nation, the best children's books. And so they're used to using that criteria. But then we had to supplement those people with scientists. And the lucky thing is that the people that I've gotten as scientists are usually second career people. So they used to be scientists and now they work in a library. You'd be amazed that that's possible. And this year, the scientist we have is a biologist and zoologist who is now a STEM librarian at Galesburg Public Library, which is a real far away in my book, but it's just the other side of Northern Illinois. And she was at the Peoria Zoo. And so she goes through each one of the books and is able to tell us, you know, this is not accurate. This is not how butterflies work, or, you know, whatever it is. And that's really, really significant because librarians don't naturally know that, nor do we necessarily know how to do all that research. I mean, we could try. We're good researchers. And then on top of that, we have a wonderful ecology center that was, I think it was founded in 1973, but it's still operative. We have staff there that work with kids, introducing nature to them all the time. They run camps, they have one-time programs, they do family programs, and they are used to working with nature and kids all the time. So they are like gold on our committee, telling us what will work and what might not work, and what's most attractive to parents and kids now in the nature realm, and how to relate. And then of course we have our sustainability coordinators from the city. I'm very lucky to seduce the city's sustainability manager. She has a staff of 3 or 4, and she has like an impossible task of getting us, you know, climate ready by 2030. But she's willing to take the time to read these books and to advise us. And she's caught all kinds of errors in books, making sure that you know, the ideas are actionable, and that they're actually going to make a difference, and it's not greenwashing. And the school district's sustainability coordinator is also willing to share her time and energy with us. And so it is a collective of people that we called out and keep pulling in to work on reading these books. It's an enormous effort. I mean, you have to read everything that's published about nature for 3 to 10-year-olds. And, you know, just trying to get our hands on everything is quite an activity. But though one of the people on our committee, her name is Betsy Bird, she writes a very influential column for School Library Journal. So if you're a librarian and you're looking to buy children's materials, then you know Betsy Bird. She's the column you read to find out what new books are coming up. And so every publisher sends her their whole stock because they want to be featured in her column, because it's like, it's an automatic, okay, now we've sold out in all the libraries in the United States. So we have access to the books before they're published, which enables us to look at the whole year, which is really great. So that's the group. That's who we called out and who we pulled together. And there's churn. I mean, there's people that have to leave. They go on to another library. They go on to a different career, and then we pull in new people.
Very cool. It sounds like fun, actually.
It's a blast.
Yes,
Susan.
Yeah, I was. It sounds great. Your church sounds wonderful. I wish we had that many kids. What do you think? I don't know how many kids you've got, but what do you suggest for small congregations that might have, I don't know, 2 kids or so? I guess we can just try and read a book.
Well, that's why intergenerational programming is so lovely. You know, you can have children involved as well as adults, and have it be a conversation at the children's level. That is one opportunity. I can tell you what I think the secret is to the explosion of children in our church, and that is that our pastor hired a part-time cook and has her cook for everybody on Thursday night. So anyone in the church can go, but most particularly it's the parents that go, and the children have have choir practice. And then the choirs all have choir practice on Thursday nights. So nobody has to cook dinner. And that's a big draw. And it really changes the dynamic. If, because it's so hard. Okay, when do you do an evening program for kids? I mean, it has to be about 6:30, which means mom is under the gun, or dad is under the gun, to provide a full meal before they arrive at church, which means you've got to be eating at 5:30. And it's a trick. And so instead what they do is they all bundle themselves up and they all come to church, and then somebody else feeds them. So that has been really a helpful thing. But yes, if you have only a few children, I think to engage them in something fascinating about the natural world is not a bad way to go.
Yeah, Susan, if I were a priest there, I'd say, hey, you can either say to the adults, you can either listen to my sermon or you can read one of these 5 books. I'm good with either one of those. The books are probably better for you. That's probably what you should do.
Because you're just gonna reiterate what the books say anyway, right?
There you go. Yeah. Thanks.
That was great. So I love that idea. What you were talking about, taking parts of the books and making the signs. I mean, that
Yes.
immediately I put in there, holy hikes for kids.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely. Oh,
wouldn't that
yes.
be great? And
And
we do the gardens, and so that was one of the things. I do the Good News Garden,
yes,
and that was one of the things that we wanted to do at the camp, was to put those signs at
yes.
the camp, and then put the QR code scan things so that the kids could scan them on their phones, and have something to read and to look at. So I absolutely love that idea. I am stealing that idea. I'm just
Oh,
letting you
please.
know.
And what's interesting is the parks all would like to have a book walk in their locale. That's certainly something that our parks have asked us for pretty regularly, to the point where now they are investing in getting a permanent structure that allow, instead of the garage sale signs.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. So I'm
But
going to, I
the
think,
garage sale signs work really well. All you need to do is buy 2 copies of the book, cut it apart, laminate, and you're set. So yeah, and you could do that in conjunction with your local park. Or you could do it if you are lucky enough to have grounds, on your own grounds. But you could also collaborate with the local library. They probably would be willing to work on this with you, or at least we are willing to work with you on it. So there's 2 more askers, I think.
yeah.
I
We have
don't know who's
Jim.
first.
Who was first?
Well, Sonia is first in line there.
Sonia, go ahead.
Yeah, could you speak more about, do you know any more about the church that did the Creation Care VBS, the Vacation Bible School
Yeah.
thing, or did they kind of do their own curriculum, or was it one of these that you buy the set, or do you know anything about that?
I don't. I know I was called in to suggest books, and I was called in to do a story time for them.
Okay.
At one point we were out in a park, another time they came to the library. But it's the Methodist church, so I'm not exactly sure. They might have a God's Creation Vacation Bible School program that would be easily listable. But you could also string one together yourself from the Blueberry books, if you were of a mind to do that, depending on the amount of time you have.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
no, I don't know a Vacation Bible School offering, and I probably should research that in terms of what's available. But you should share with a few people how you've used the Blueberry list. Oh, Green Team leader from Florida.
Oh, mainly with my grandkids, and I feel like little Johnny Appleseed. I take the brochures and spread them everywhere, and talk to our Lella's we're on the commission together. We put it in our newsletter and that kind of thing. But I'm more, Martha, you're always so enthusiastic and energetic, and so I'm more motivated to to get out there and do some more. And I'm thinking I'm going to get on Amazon, I guess, unfortunately, but after this, and want to order them all, of course.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Jim, did you, you were next, I think?
So, I'm part of a small congregation, and it seems between my wife and I, we're on every committee.
Uh,
And that happens in larger congregations too, right? But
yes, it does.
the 80-20 stuff and all that, right? But the point of this question is, it might be, one thing that comes to my mind is that it may not be the creation care team that is actually working with the youth. It may be the youth coordinator doing that, and they may not be as immersed in creation care frameworks as everyone else. It would be to have a resource that youth folks could be directed to, that would kind of lightly put that framework without being. Does that make sense? To have that as
Yes, well, yes, it's a matter of sharing gently the list and how helpful it might be, and offering perhaps to read to children from one of them, or offering perhaps to help put together one of these programs. And any, I don't know any youth coordinators that don't want help. So if you say, I'm willing to help, but it needs to be something about nature because I'm a creation care person, I want to share that with kids. That's a great thing. I can tell you that the creation care, the youth minister or the youth manager at our church, and there's only one of her, she used to be a librarian. So that's why it seems like maybe library heavy programming where we are. But you could certainly talk to your local children's librarian about tips about how to read to children, and ideas about how to support your youth formation team. Does that help?
Mhm.
Yeah. And George?
George's hand is
Yeah,
up.
the book walk is a good idea. I was down in the Arboretum here in Lexington, and I started at the wrong end. But I said, wait a minute, this is a book that we read to the kids many, 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 many times.
Yeah.
And so for the first time, I read it backwards.
That's so cool. Yes, librarians often don't think that that's the kind of book that they should put up as books about nature when you're actually in nature. It seems like a huge lost opportunity. And that's why we've worked with our parks people to do that, because, you could put up any book, but why not put a book that helps you understand what you're looking at? And yeah, we had quite a community gathering. There was the first year we did the Blueberry, the book that won was called How to Find a Fox. And it's for very young children, but it has some of the most gorgeous photography I've ever seen. It's a Finnish photographer. His last name is Saarinen. And he did the most incredible pictures of foxes. And we did a fox walk, and there were plenty of adults that had a wonderful time, going along and learning about, when might be a good time to see a fox in action, and do we actually have foxes in Evanston? And yes, we do. And wow, why don't we see them more often? Well, they're very good at hiding, and it was great fun. Go ahead, Sonia.
So I don't know how much time we have. I don't want to. We could talk later, but so I don't understand the mechanics of like how the book walk works. Like, so I got the signs, and
Yes.
so it seems like that is, do you like blow it up bigger and then do you stop and somebody read? I mean, how does that work?
If it's a tiny book, you blow it up, but no, you just use the actual physical pages of the book. The reason you need two of them is that when you show the front of something, then the part of the story on the back is lost. So that's why you need two books. So so you pull the book apart and then laminate them on something that will be about the same size as the yard sign, and then you tape it to the yard sign. I mean,
and you
it's
just walk
really,
through it.
really low tech. The only thing you can't the only thing you cannot do is you cannot call it a story walk. And the reason why is some woman in Ohio, I think it is, maybe it's Pennsylvania, has copyrighted that term, and you have to ask her permission first. So just call it a book walk.
Okay.
And you're
And it
fine.
doesn't matter, like, if you're let's say the Fox one, like you
Yeah.
said, like I'm doing it in my neighborhood, let's say, or
Yeah.
it doesn't have to correspond to what you see in your spot, and it's fine.
It- any book you want to share can be done this way,
Okay.
but like I said, I think nature makes more sense. And yeah, it'd be great if it was about some phenomenon that you were seeing, but I can tell you
That's
that
just not always the case. I
no,
get. So
I
I'm
think-
just, maybe I'm
yeah.
overthinking this, but I'm
Yeah,
I'm
well,
very
if
intrigued.
you've got an area with some native plants, maybe one
Yeah.
of the native plant books. If you've got an area that has water feature, maybe something that's about something in water.
Yeah.
If you've there's, I mean, and if you have particular typography and you can't think of anything, then I am more than happy to help share the library wealth. I could give you another book that maybe wasn't a blueberry, but was a wonderful nature book that would
Okay.
share about mushrooms or share about, whatever. And every year we have different ones. And so we have a broader range of
Okay.
things that we can suit, but yeah. Anyone else with questions, or we're about 10 minutes too, I think. Is that right,
Yeah,
Jerry?
we still got a little bit of time. Got other questions?
I'm just hoping that this makes you all energized to go talk to your formation people or your pastor and say, "Oh, I have some great ideas. Let's."
Well, I'm still curious about the energy level of the idea, which I think is absolutely brilliant and timely. So has Newberry responded to you all in your existence?
Well,
Or NPR? Have you got on NPR yet?
we're getting there. I am.
We'll put you there.
I have everyone I present to, I always say, now bring this flyer that you get off the website and bring it to your local library and ask them to please stock the books of the blueberry. And if they want to be in touch with me, they're happy to be in touch with me. I'll give them I'll give them logos. I'll give them whatever they need. They can get spine labels for their books, so they can have little blueberries on the back of their books. But in any case, all that is in that website, and so yes, I'm working on trying to get the word out. We did a press preview for the first time last year. We did a party for the first time the year before that, a big announcement party. I finally hit the big time though. Currently, right now, I am working on they have asked me to do a guest column in American Libraries Magazine.
Oh.
So I am hoping that it's in April, of course. So Earth Month. And so I'm hoping that means more of your librarians will have heard of the blueberry after April. But the best time to tell them about the list is at the end of March, when the list first comes out, when they have about a month to then order books, if they haven't already ordered them. I mean, some of these are, the books that we name are also well known in other ways, but for some of the books, they will not know them and they will need to order them, and it gives them time to order them. But you could always share them like tomorrow if you want to go to your library. But yeah, I'm hoping. And then the other thing that we're hoping is we've got some local press. We also do 2 national webinars like this one, but national. We do Natural Start Alliance, which is all the Parks Department staff, all the Nature Center staff, forest school, preschool teachers, preschool teachers that want to do nature as most of their curriculum. They are all in an organization called Natural Start Alliance, and we do a webinar for them every year to announce the latest copies of the books because they will immediately put them to use. We also do a webinar called Early Childhood Investigations webinars. This is for preschool teachers, mostly nationally, though they do have international folk as well. And they are just for preschool teachers, trainings for preschool teachers. And one of the things you can train them in is book selection. And so that's what we do in terms of the Blueberry Award. And so far we've done, I think, 2 years worth of announcements. So your local preschool teacher may possibly have heard about the Blueberry. So this now with American Libraries Magazine, I'm hoping that means that more librarians will be aware. And at some point, yes, I want American Library Association to call me up and say, okay, so how do we take over this award from you? That's my goal.
That's cool.
I don't know if it's going to happen now, but I'm 63. I'm hoping to work till 70, and maybe by that point, American Libraries Magazine will realize American Library Association will realize how important it is, because the future of libraries is nature smart. You go ahead and you tell your librarians that your children's librarians, the future of libraries is nature smart. There's all kinds of people that are working on that, and may not have heard it, but it's time they did.
But also may be true that the future of Sunday schools is nature smart.
Yeah.
And the other thing, it's interesting to listen to you. You think like a librarian. I'm
Yes.
thinking of parents. So to me, the power of the Newbery List is not for librarians. It's the fact that parents look at it and it's
Yes.
posted on Amazon and it
Yes.
generates
Sales.
probably millions of dollars of sales.
Yes, it
So
does.
an idea for you all might be able to create an Amazon list, which I think you actually can,
Yes.
or a Blueberry.
Yes,
I
and
wonder what that
also
would do.
the other thing we need to do, in addition to the Amazon list, the other thing we need to do is put the list up on Goodreads. I don't know if any of you record
Yeah,
reading
yeah,
on
that's exactly
Goodreads,
right.
but
Yep.
that's a big resource. A lot of people use Goodreads. That's another one we should be in. Yes, there's many things to be done. The only problem is that we at the library we have the same problem that we all have at church, and that is that no paid staff and no budget. But we're working on it. We have a whole team of really enthusiastic people. So yes, that is absolutely, that's one of the things on my to-do list, Jerry. Got to get on that.
So Martha, how would we do this for Scholastic? I'm getting ready to go to a book fair. I really don't like book fairs, but
Yeah.
anyway, they're just overpriced. So, so we're getting ready to go to the book fair at the parent-teacher conferences. So how would we get these books through Scholastic? Who do we write?
Well,
Who do we call?
not all of them are available through Scholastic. But you could certainly share the list with the salesperson that's there, or the librarian, your school librarian who usually runs these things, and share the list with her, and then she can share it with Scholastic as a request. And you can also tell your local school librarian or whoever it is that's running your book fair that you try a local independent bookstore to do the book fair, and then you could have a much greater say in what the books are that are being sold. So it would take some amount of revolution, but Scholastic has some of them. I mean, Scholastic is a publisher for some of the books that we select. So
Okay.
I can't tell you right off the bat which ones are in which with each publisher. Like, I can't do that like this, but I could go back and.
Yeah, all
Hey.
right, we're getting down to 5 minutes here. One more idea is, Martha, this is central enough to creation care. The formation of Christians, the formation of children is probably our biggest hope for the future.
Yes.
Us stupid baby boomers are certainly not doing it. There
We
might be a
are.
grant opportunity even from some of the sources, the Episcopal sources and others, for getting a Newbery list into camps, conference centers, churches, bookstores, a Blueberry list. What did I say? Blueberry list. Anyway, just for, you're invisible, right? Invisibility is part of your problem. And I wonder if there's grant money to argue for helping solve that problem.
I was just thinking about that, Jerry. We have like a lot of random bookshelves with random books on them. And I think it would be really cool for those bookshelves to be filled with these types of books, as well as adult books, because we have a lot of adult guests, but in the same vein, because we're here surrounded by nature. And so I think it'd be really cool to incorporate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of these children's books are so well written, so well illustrated, that they give you a thumbnail ability to get into a topic much quicker than an adult book does. So like if you want to read about cicadas, you can take home a tome that's 350 pages, and there's a whole lot of material in there that you're not that interested in. But if you go to the children's book, even though it's for somebody younger than you are, you pick up the most important facts, and then you can share them, and you feel like you're really supported. So adults can also make use of some of these children's books, but our books go up to 10 and up. So like for essentially what you would call middle school, I think we have middle school books on our list. And those are surely something that adults would make use of, and as well as our adult list. Yeah, I would love to do a better job of getting into camps and conference centers of the Episcopal Church. That would be fabulous. I certainly
and others, Methodists and everybody else. Lela posted an announcement that I will share on a screen here with y'all real quick. So that's this Gulf Coast Creation Care conversation with Dr. Marcus Briggs Cloud. That is coming up really quite quickly, January 2nd, but there's a registration for that online conversation. So I'm just kind of boosting her announcement there with that, as well as the upcoming webinar this week with Dr. Robin Gottfried and his book, The Audacious Great Singing School Adventure, and reflecting on incarnation at Christmas time. So I just wanted to pull those two things out as announcements while we still had a minute. We got one more minute. Jeanette, did you have something you were going to do similar?
I do. I wanted to thank Martha so much for being here. This was just so energetic, and I just feel so good. I don't know, does anybody else feel like really uplifted just from hearing these books, about these books? I love it. Thank you so much, and please come back, join us, and I'm just so grateful for you. Thank you. My next announcement was our January 13, 2025 is Ellie Simpson, and she is our fellow for Eco Justice. We have 4 of them. I didn't know that. She's going to come, and I should say, they're going to run a panel, have a panel, and they're going to talk to us about what Fellows for Eco Justice do, what their projects are, and what they've done, where they're going to, and what they're going to continue to do, and where they move on when they're finished. So there's a lot of information there I wasn't aware of. Really excited about having Ellie come and talk to us about that. The next thing I needed to ask was, who is using our Facebook page? Does anybody raise your hand? Has anybody seen our Facebook page? Okay. We're just trying to, yeah, I know. We're just trying to just kind of like see if it's a necessary thing or what we can do to boost it, or anything like that. Any ideas, just give us just give us an email, just shout us out. And always check on the website, check on the Prov 5 website, Prov 4 website. That's where all the great news is. It's where things are happening, and we all spend a lot of time, not really, writing up little stories and blurbs to put into those into the news letter that you read. So anybody have any questions?
Is that where the recording is? Because I want to, make sure some of my kids' people watch it. Is it on the Province 4 and 5 website?
It's on
Heather,
the,
you're on.
it's on the
Hey.
province5.org/creation. So if you look in the chat here, I'll bounce it down to the bottom again. So that's the web
Okay.
page for this network. Even though it says Province 5, it's the Province 4, Province 5, so province5.org/creation, you'll find all the things.
Okay.
So for this one, there'll be a recording. I think there'll be a transcript, and Martha's presentation is already linked there.
And that was great. That was great. So I think that was it.
Yeah, very
Anybody
good.
have
Thanks,
any
everyone.
questions?
That was fun. We'll be doing it again. Blessed Advent, Merry Christmas, Happy New
Yes.
Year. What else?
Yes.
Hanukkah,
Happy Hanukkah,
Kwanzaa,
Kwanzaa.
or anything else out there.
So happy holidays.